So you get the standard advice for aquariums, right? Like have a heater, have an algae scrubber, lights, all that stuff. But I wanted to show you a couple of things that I have collected over the years that maybe aren't, I don't want to call them obscure, but they're not usually in the recommended list that I have found have been just super critical toward making aquarium life way easier. So let me show you what they are. Dedicated washcloth. You have no idea how many drips, spills, whatevers are going to happen. That's just par for the course. So I always keep one washcloth, and it's a dedicated washcloth with the aquariums. Get a dollar store one, get a microfiber one, whatever. Keep it there, wash it, do wash it, because it will end up smelling like prime eventually. But it has been so critical and so necessary. Next, S-hooks. S-hooks are amazing, and I have them in different sizes that hold the nets or buckets or bigger handle things. So many things need to drip dry in this world, aquatic world, that why I don't know why you wouldn't have S-hooks. And they're so cheap, and you can get them everywhere. You can get so many of them. Get them. Next up, microfiber mats for in front of the aquariums. Granted, knock on wood, this has not been a problem, but just in case they ever spill or they ever leak, at least I have those mats there. They can hold, I can't remember the rating, I've had them a really long time, but they can hold like a stupid amount of water should they need to. And as you see, I had my aquarium vacuum hanging out on one right now as it was, I just used it, and so all the water can kind of drip out there. One thing I do want to recommend is that you do also wash those occasionally too, because somehow they end up smelling like prime eventually, and you won't notice it until you go to move either your aquariums or move like to a different house or whatever, a different spot, and that prime smell has like seeped into the floor from those mats. I have found that to happen twice. Even here, and I've only lived here a year and a half, I just switched my office space around, and these are LVP flooring, and there was a prime smell in those already, and it's like, so do not forget to wash those mats. Next, this one I'm going to have to show you unassembled, because as I said, I just moved everything around, so it's not back up, but a hose hook for your vacuum. Well, they're made for outdoors, but install this into the wall, use an anchor or put it into a stud. Hanging up your hose, so much easier. I know some people just put them in 5-gallon buckets, but I like it off the floor. It's just a pain in the ass when it's on the floor. I end up tripping over it somehow, no matter where it goes, if it's on the floor. So hanging it up, at least it's out of the way. Next, if you want to combine your love of plants, aquatic and terrestrial, I recommend buying some of these. These are, you can get them on AliExpress, you can get them on Amazon. They're super cheap. You could probably even 3D print them. I'm sure that there are designs around. They're just to hold stems so that you can have plants living in them, like pothos, monsteras, philodendrons, maybe syngoniums. I've never tried syngoniums, that take nutrients from the aquatic water and live off of that rather than soil. It's a really good way to utilize hydroponics for plants, terrestrial, while getting the best of both worlds, at least in my opinion. So if you are a plant nerd like me and have over 240 plants, then you need to find new places to put plants. Use your aquarium. Okay, this next part, don't judge me, it's kind of ugly. Form over function right now. Function over form right now. Next is a power station surge protector with power buttons that make it easy to power things on and on, which is super awesome for when it's time to clean the tanks and you need to shut off multiple pumps and heaters and stuff like that while still keeping on the lights and stuff that have to stay on. So on this one, each one is controlled by its own button, and then there's a main switch. So I can shut this side off, I can shut this side off, and then keep that one on and that one on, which is just, it has made my life so much easier. That way I don't have to chase down plugs, because I always end up losing a plug behind something. It's easy, nothing has to get unplugged. I know where everything is. It's all connected in the right spots. Which brings me to my next point, and that is color-coded tags. So yellow is for lights, and you can see each one is labeled. White is for pumps or filters, and if you're curious why they're not on the same, honestly, it's just because I had to use an extension cord for this, and I didn't want white to be up here with all the black. I thought it would be too jarring. So yeah, it's aesthetics only. And then orange is for heat. It lets me quickly realize which ones go where and just makes my life so much easier. Last but not least is a bucket. Now you can use whatever bucket you want. It really depends on how far you've got to go. Let me explain. I have this bucket. Don't judge me. And this was the bucket that I used for when I needed to keep the vacuum going, filling the tanks, and my tanks were across the room from one another. So I had 3 or 4 tanks on one end of the room, and on the other end I had another set of 4 or 5 tanks. That was back in the super ADHD obsession phase of aquariums. So rather than having to run to the sink to shut it off and then turn it back on again, I was able to keep the water running by just putting it in the bucket and transferring it across. Now, since the 3 remaining tanks that are here are pretty close together, I only have to use a little bucket. And I could probably get away with just going really fast, but I'd really rather not do that. So, yeah. I think those are the pretty essential things. Oh, there is one more actually, and it is not a purchase, much like the bucket. The bucket is a find, if you want to call it that. If you get the testing kits, the water testing kits, they come in a pail, right? And what I have found is that pail, of course now I can't do it, that pail is super great for holding your tools. So don't throw it away. Okay, that was it. Hope that was helpful.